Dread horror. Uncover the darkest mysteries that remain unsolved. If you dare, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying story. It was April 1st, 2025, and the air in the small coastal town of Harrow's Edge carried the salty tang of the sea and a faint chill that lingered even as spring tried to take hold. April Fool's Day was a tradition here, a day when the townsfolk embraced mischief with a fervor that bordered on obsession. Everyone had a story: fake lottery tickets, plastic spiders and coffee cups, or the time old Mr. Grayson convinced half the town a whale had washed up on the pier. But this year, something felt different. The sky hung low, gray and oppressive, and the laughter echoing through the streets had an edge to it, sharp and brittle. I'd come to Harrow's Edge to visit my cousin, Leah, who'd moved there a year ago after inheriting her grandmother's creaky old house on the cliffs. She'd warned me about the town's love for pranks, but I wasn't prepared for how seriously they took it, or how far they'd go. "It's all in good fun," she'd said over the phone, her voice crackling with static. "Just don't fall for anything too obvious." I laughed it off, picturing silly gags and bad jump scares. I should have known better. The trouble started that morning. Leah woke me with a grin, holding a tray of pancakes dripping with syrup. "April Fools!" she shouted, shoving them under my nose. I took a bite, only to gag as the taste of salt and something metallic hit my tongue. She doubled over laughing. "Ketchup and salt, not syrup." "Gotcha." I forced a smile, wiping my mouth, but the prank left a sour taste that lingered longer than it should have. By noon, the town was in full swing. Kids darted through the streets, setting off firecrackers and leaving whoopee cushions on benches. A group of teens rigged a speaker to blare eerie moans from an alleyway, cackling as passers-by jumped. Leah dragged me to the town square, where a crowd had gathered around a makeshift stage. A man in a tattered clown costume, greasy red wig, smeared makeup, and a grin too wide for his face, stood there holding a megaphone. "Welcome to Harrow's Edge's annual Fool's Fright," he bellowed, his voice rasping like he'd smoked a pack a day for decades. "Today's the day we test your wits and your nerve. Who's brave enough to join the game?" The crowd cheered, and I felt a prickle of unease. Leah nudged me. "It's just a scavenger hunt. They hide creepy stuff around town. Fake bones, rubber rats. Winner gets bragging rights." I shrugged, figuring it couldn't hurt to play along. The clown handed out maps scribbled with cryptic clues. Beneath the widow's gaze, where shadows weep or where the lost scream silently. Each spot marked an X, and the rules were simple. Find the treasures, bring them back, and don't get spooked. Leah and I teamed up, heading for the first X. The old widow's tree, a gnarled oak on the edge of town said to be haunted by a woman who'd hanged herself after her husband drowned at sea. The tree loomed ahead, its branches clawing at the sky. At its base was a wooden box, weathered and stained. I pried it open, expecting a plastic skull or a toy spider. Instead, I found a photograph, an old Polaroid of a woman with hollow eyes, her mouth stretched in a silent scream. Scrawled on the back in red ink was a single word: "Run." My stomach twisted. "Leah, this isn't funny," I said, holding it up. She frowned, peering at it. "That's not part of the game. Someone's messing with us." Before I could respond, a gust of wind ripped the photo from my hand, sending it spiraling into the air. We watched it vanish into the gray haze, and then we heard it. A low, guttural laugh, like it came from the tree itself. Leah grabbed my arm. "Let's move. Next spot." I nodded, but my legs felt heavy, like the ground was pulling me down. The second X led us to the abandoned cannery by the docks, a rusting hulk of a building that smelled of fish guts and decay. The clue, where the lost screamed silently, made my skin crawl as we stepped inside. The air was thick, damp, and the shadows seemed to shift just out of sight. We found the treasure on a conveyor belt, a rusted tin can with a note inside. I unrolled it, my hands trembling. "They're watching you now," it read in the same jagged red scrawl. Above us, something creaked. A beam, maybe, or footsteps. Leah whispered, "This is too weird." Let's go back. But as we turned, the door slammed shut. Not a breeze, not a prank. Something had forced it closed. I yanked at the handle, panic rising, but it wouldn't budge. Then came the sound. A wet, slapping noise, like bare feet on concrete, growing louder, closer. "Leah!" I shouted, spinning around. She was gone. The cannery stretched out before me, empty except for that sound. Slap, 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 echoing off the walls. I bolted, dodging machinery, my breath ragged. I found her by the back exit, pale and shaking. "Something grabbed me," she gasped. "Cold hands." I couldn't see it. We stumbled out into the fading daylight, hearts pounding. I wanted to quit, to go home, but Leah insisted we finish. "It's just the town messing with us," she said, though her voice wavered. One more spot. The final X was the cliffside lighthouse, a crumbling relic overlooking the sea. The clue where the light fails and the deep calls. Felt like a warning, but we climbed the winding path anyway, the wind howling around us. Inside, the lighthouse was a tomb of dust and shadow. The spiral stairs groaned under our weight as we ascended to the lantern room. There, on the cracked glass table, was the last treasure. A small, leather-bound journal. I opened it and my blood ran cold. Page after page was filled with names, hundreds of them, some crossed out, others circled. At the bottom of the last page, in fresh red ink, were ours. Leah Carter, Sam Ellis. Below that, a single line, "You were warned." The lantern flickered to life, casting a sickly yellow glow. I dropped the journal, grabbing Leah's hand. "We're leaving. Now." But as we turned, the stairs were blocked. Not by a person, not by anything solid, just a wall of darkness, thick and pulsing, like a living thing. Faces pressed against it, eyeless and grinning, their mouths moving soundlessly. The slapping sound returned, louder, faster, and the air grew heavy with the stench of seawater and rot. "Sam," Leah whimpered, clutching my arm. "What's happening?" I didn't know. I couldn't think. The darkness crept closer, the faces stretching toward us, and then the lantern exploded, plunging us into black. I felt Leah's hand slip from mine, heard her scream cut off abruptly. I clawed at the air, shouting her name, but my voice echoed back, distorted and mocking. When the light returned, I was alone. The darkness was gone, the faces vanished, and the journal lay open at my feet. Leah's name was crossed out. Mine was circled. Below it, in that same red scrawl, was a new message. "The prank ends when you do." I staggered outside, the town silent below me, the sea roaring like it was laughing. My phone buzzed, a text from Leah's number. "Gotcha. Happy April Fools." It read, followed by a winking emoji. Called her. No answer. I ran to her house, pounded on the door. Nothing. The town was empty. No kids, no pranks, just an eerie stillness. Days passed, then weeks. Leah never came back. The police found no trace, no evidence, just my ramblings about a game gone wrong. But last night, March 29th, 2025, my phone buzzed again. Another text from her number. "One day left. Ready to play?" I'm writing this now, locked in my apartment, the clock ticking toward midnight. The wind outside sounds like laughter, and the shadows move when I'm not looking. April Fool's Day is coming, and I don't think it's a prank anymore. I think it's a promise. And I think this time it's my turn to lose. The first time it happened, no one took it seriously. April Fool's Day had always been a big deal at Blackwood High. Every year, students tried to outdo each other with elaborate pranks. Fake fire alarms, hidden speakers playing eerie sounds, and even teachers getting in on the fun. But this year, something felt different. A whisper spread through the school halls. A legend, some said, about a prank that went too far. A girl, forgotten by time, still haunting the place. And the warning that came with it. On April 1st, if you hear someone laughing alone in an empty room, don't look, don't answer, just leave. Of course, no one listened. It started harmlessly. Fake spiders dropped from locker doors. Phones mysteriously vibrated with anonymous text saying, "I see you." Someone filled the cafeteria's mashed potatoes with salt until students gagged at their first bite. I was in on it too. My friends, Jake, Amber, and Kevin, had been planning something huge for months. We wanted to pull off the greatest prank in Blackwood High history. "We should do something with the old storage room," Kevin suggested, his eyes gleaming. "The one on the 3rd floor. No one ever goes in there. They say it's haunted," Amber murmured, half laughing, half serious. "Exactly," Jake grinned. "Let's use that to our advantage." The idea was simple. We'd lure someone in, probably a freshman, and rig the room with speakers, flickering lights, and even a mannequin dressed like an old student. Then we'd capture their terrified reaction on camera. Classic. Except we chose the wrong room. The 3rd floor had been partially closed off for years. No one really questioned it. Just another part of the school's decaying history. We found the storage room easily. A narrow, dust-coated door at the end of a dead hallway. The doorknob was loose, the wood splintered from years of neglect. When we pushed it open, a stale, cold air hit us. Inside, old desks and chairs were piled high, broken and forgotten. Kevin set up the speakers. Jake adjusted the lights. Amber placed the mannequin in the corner, its face hidden under a tattered Blackwood High hoodie. It was perfect. Then we heard it. A soft giggle. Faint, almost playful. "Nice try," Jake smirked. "Who brought a sound machine?" No one answered. The giggle came again. Closer. Amber turned pale. "Guys, that wasn't us." The door slammed shut. We ran to the door, yanking, pushing, it wouldn't budge. Our flashlights flickered. The air felt heavy, thick like molasses. Then the whispering started. At first, I thought it was the speakers, but Kevin had unplugged them when the door slammed. And yet, the voices swirled around us, overlapping, rising. "Why did you come here? Do you think it's funny? You won't leave." Then, from the darkness, the mannequin moved. His head snapped toward us. We screamed. Kevin grabbed a chair and hurled it. The mannequin collapsed, its hood falling away, except there was no mannequin. There was a girl. Her face was pale, her lips curled in a wide, twisted grin. Her eyes were black voids, endless and empty. She giggled sharp, broken. "Is this part of the prank?" Jake whimpered. Her smile widened. Then she lunged. We scrambled backward, knocking over desks, our bodies slamming into walls. The girl moved unnaturally, her limbs bending at impossible angles. Kevin pulled out his phone, the flashlight beam flickering as he pointed it at her. "Who are you?" She cocked her head. "Don't you remember?" Amber clutched my arm. "She's real." I did remember, not clearly, just whispers from years ago. Prank gone wrong. A girl locked inside a classroom overnight. A joke that no one admitted to. The next morning they found her body, hanging from the ceiling. No one ever spoke about it. Until now. She took a step closer. "Want to play?" We bolted. The door was still jammed, but we pounded on it, screaming. The room filled with laughter. Not just hers, but dozens of voices. The ghosts of those who had watched, who had done nothing. Jake was the first to fall. One moment he was with us. The next he was gone. Just missing. The laughter grew louder. Kevin and Amber turned on me, their eyes wide with terror. "Do something." I didn't know what to do. My hands shook as I grabbed the old doorknob and twisted desperately. And then suddenly it opened. The three of us stumbled out, gasping for air. The hallway was empty. Normal. Except for one thing. Jake was gone. No trace of him. No one remembered him. Not the teachers. Not his parents. It was like he never existed. But I knew the truth. And I knew the rules now. On April 1st, if you hear someone laughing alone in an empty room, don't look. Don't answer. Just leave. Because some pranks never end. April 1st at Willow Creek High had always been a symphony of laughter and chaos. The halls buzzed with pranks. Plastic snakes in lockers, whoopee cushions under teachers' chairs, and once, a fake ghost sighting that sent half the sophomore class screaming. For Liam Carter, it was his favorite day of the year, a chance to cement his reputation as the king of mischief. But this year, someone or something decided the game needed new rules. It began with a text message just before first period. Liam was crouched under Mr. Harris's desk, taping an air horn to the chair's underside, grinning at the thought of the chaos to come. His phone buzzed in his pocket and he pulled it out. "You shouldn't have done that. Now the game begins." Liam smirked. Probably Chris, his best friend and usual partner in crime, trying to psych him out. He typed back, "Nice try, not falling for it," and hit send. No reply came. He shrugged, finished his setup, and headed to class as the bell rang, its shrill tone echoing through the linoleum corridors. But the moment he stepped into homeroom, something felt wrong. The usual chatter was muted, replaced by furtive whispers and nervous glances. Chris waved him over, his freckled face pale under the fluorescent lights. "Dude, did you hear about Emily?" Chris asked, his voice low, eyes darting like he expected someone to overhear. Liam slid into the seat beside him. "What about her?" "She's gone. Vanished. Her parents said she never came home last night. But here's the creepy part. No one remembers her. I checked the yearbook. She's not in it. It's like she was never here." Liam's stomach twisted. Emily had been with him last night, plotting the air horn prank over pizza in his basement. Her dark ponytail had bounced as she laughed at his dumb jokes. "That's impossible," he said, pulling out his phone. Her number was gone from his contacts. No texts, no call history, nothing. "Maybe it's part of the prank?" Chris offered, but his forced grin didn't reach his eyes. Before Liam could respond, his phone buzzed again. He glanced down. One down. Who's next? By lunchtime, Willow Creek High felt less like a school and more like a ghost town. The playful mischief of the morning had curdled into unease. Rumors spread like wildfire. Emily wasn't the only one missing. Mark from the swim team hadn't shown up for practice. Rachel, the class president with her ever-present clipboard, was nowhere to be found. Liam bolted to the library, yanking last year's yearbook from the shelf. His hands shook as he flipped through it. Emily's photo gone. Mark's gone. Rachel's gone. Pages that once held their smiling faces were blank, as if they'd been erased. A folded note slipped from between the pages, landing on the table with a soft thud. Liam unfolded it, his breath catching. In jagged black ink, it read, "Stop playing, or they all disappear." He spun around, heart pounding, as a cold breath grazed his neck. The library was empty, its rows of bookshelves silent and looming. But he wasn't alone, he could feel it. Desperate for answers, Liam dragged Chris to find Mr. Carter, the janitor who'd been mopping these floors since before they were born. They cornered him in the basement near the boiler room, his gray hair glinting under a bare bulb. "This has happened before," Mr. Carter whispered, his voice rough as gravel. He leaned on his mop, eyes distant. "Every 10 years or so, someone pushes the pranks too far. Then the game starts." "What game?" Liam demanded, his voice sharper than he intended. "The school doesn't like being mocked," Carter said, glancing at the shadowed walls as if they might hear. "Something's here, old, angry, punishes the tricksters. The more you prank, the more it takes." Chris swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. "How do we stop it?" Carter shook his head. "You don't. Survive till midnight and it resets. Fail, and you're erased. Like you never existed." Liam's phone buzzed again. He didn't want to look, but he couldn't stop himself. Not fast enough. Another one gone. By nightfall, Willow Creek High was a tomb. Empty desks sat abandoned. Lockers hung open with jackets spilling out. The PA system crackled intermittently, spitting garbled whispers that sounded like names. Liam, Chris, and a handful of stragglers, Sophie from art club and Jason from the debate team, barricaded themselves in the gym. The scoreboard flickered to life unplugged, displaying a countdown, 11 to 59, 11:58. A scream pierced the silence from somewhere down the hall, then cut off abruptly. Chris gripped Liam's shoulder, his nails digging in. "We can't stay still. If we stop, we're next." They ran, feet pounding through darkened corridors. Shadows stretched and twisted, reaching for them like clawed hands. Classroom doors slammed open and shut on their own. Lockers banged in a deafening rhythm. The school was awake, alive, and hunting. At 11:30, Jason vanished. 1 second, he was behind them. The next, he was gone, swallowed by the dark as they turned a corner. Sophie sobbed, clutching her sketchbook like a shield. At 11:45, Maya, another survivor they'd picked up, screamed as something yanked her into a janitor's closet. The door slammed before Liam could grab her, and her cries stopped like a switch had been flipped. At 11:55, it was just Liam and Chris, breathless and stumbling into the principal's office. The air was thick, suffocating. Liam lunged for the intercom on the desk, slamming the button down. "We give up," he shouted, voice cracking. "No more pranks. Please stop." The countdown ticked on. 00:01. Midnight. The lights flickered, dimmed, then blazed back to life. The oppressive weight lifted. The school fell silent. Chris exhaled, slumping against the wall. Did it work? Liam didn't answer. He stared at his phone, hands trembling. A new text glowed on the screen. Game over. For now. The next morning, Willow Creek High was back to normal, or close enough. Students laughed in the halls, oblivious. The yearbook had no blank pages, but Emily, Mark, Rachel, Jason, Maya, they were still gone. No one remembered them. No one but Liam and Chris. As the first bell rang, Liam's phone buzzed one last time. He didn't look at it. He didn't need to. He knew the game would wait, patient, silent, until the next April Fool's Day, when someone somewhere would play one prank too many.